Hey, it's Ken Kraetzer for Sons of American Legion Radio in White Plains today at the Sports Page restaurant with our good friend Bob Hyland, who is a wearer of a Super Bowl championship ring and has operated restaurants in White Plains for over 40 years. Bob, good to see you.
Good morning, Ken.
Good to see you. And now you had some news. You were a glowing article by our friend Chris Eberhard on the front page of the Journal News today. A little news that you had, and a little bittersweet, but tell us about it.
Well, as I said before, it must have been a very, very moderate news day if they put us on the front page, but we really appreciated that article. Chris did a very nice job. I think he was very objective about it and really pretty much spelled out what the situation is here. The old White Plains Mall, after about 40 or 45 years, is going to be coming down, and obviously we're going to have to close up shop here, but it doesn't mean that we're finished. We may keep our eye out for another place in the neighborhood, or who knows, maybe in the surrounding communities here. We really enjoy this business, and I have a son who has learned the business and has expressed an interest to want to continue the sports page. So it's a little bit up in the air about what our future is, but the last few months we have here, we want to do a very good job for our patrons and so forth, as we've done for the last 35 years at the sports page.
Well, absolutely. I know tomorrow on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, you're going to have a packed house to watch the game, and NCAA championships, college basketball, and that big St. Patrick's Day party you always have here, which so many people from White Plains attend.
Yeah, this is a sweet spot as far as sports activity goes, with the Super Bowl, of course, and then moving right into March Madness, which takes up pretty much the whole month. Right in the middle of it is St. Patrick's Day, and of course the White Plains St. Patrick's Day Parade. Quite a few people come back here on that Saturday and have a good time. We specialize in corned beef and cabbage and all the good things that go with celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Again, it's going to be kind of sad that it might be our last one here, but hopefully we'll have another location somewhere in the future.
Well, we certainly do hope so, and all your many friends and all your friends. This is really kind of a home away from home for everybody from Stepinac High School athletics. After all their big wins, I know you said when they won that state championship, this was really a big place for everyone to gather during that run.
Well, yeah, they played the championship in upstate, and it was a little bit difficult for a lot of people to travel that far. But fortunately, I guess it was MSG put it on the computer. We were able to put it on a few of our televisions, and the people were with the team at heart, and we filled the place. It was really a lot of fun, and of course they won. So this is Crusader Nation. We really root for them big time.
Well, absolutely. Well, you were a football player for Stepinac and then went on to Boston College and then the NFL. First, tell us a little bit about your time with Boston College.
Well, when I was a senior at Stepinac, I had quite a few schools who were interested in me, and I know close to your heart is West Point, and that was one of the schools I was considering. I kind of brought it down to either BC or West Point. And it's funny, even at an early age, the age of 17 or 18 years old, I had a feeling I might be able to play pro football. I guess I was a cocky kid, to feel that way, but at that time, West Point, or none of the service academies, were quite as accommodating as they are now for a person who might have some big-time hopes like that. So I had to make my decision, and I had my appointment to West Point, but I decided to go to Boston College, and I loved my time there up on Chestnut Hill. It's a beautiful school. You get a good education. They had good football at the time, too.
Well, absolutely. And then you had the chance to go to the NFL and play for the legendary Vince Lombardi, and it took you to Super Bowl II. Tell us a little bit about your entering the NFL and going to the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I was going to be a pretty high draft choice, and I still remember the day that it occurred. It was a much simpler time. Nowadays, of course, they bring in the top 15 or 20 guys into New York City at Radio City, and they make a huge production out of it. Back then, I remember being in my dormitory at BC, and they said, well, you're going to be in the top 10, so be near a phone because somebody's going to be calling you. And sure enough, it was Coach Lombardi. And to say I was thrilled was an understatement, because here they were, the world champions, of course. And I was the 9th guy chosen, the first offensive lineman. So I was thrilled about it. It was a dream come true, and I just couldn't have been more excited. The fact of the matter is that was just the start of it all. You know, I went out there and negotiated with Coach Lombardi, and I found out that things had really changed in 1 year's time. The year before, they had the NFL and the AFL. And this particular year, it was the first year of the common draft, the merger of the two leagues, and I got sticker shock how little they were paying us at the time, and of course, you know, the players are doing pretty well now, but I was in a little bit of a valley there. You know, the NFL really didn't pay us much in those days.
Well, yeah, we heard about negotiating with Vince Lombardi, the famous Paul Hornung story about his agent going in, and then Vince Lombardi telling Paul Hornung, "You play for the New Orleans Saints now." Something like that. Anyway, what did you learn from playing from Vince Lombardi, certainly one of the most respected figures in NFL history?
Well, I felt that I was very privileged to be with Coach Lombardi, even if it was only for 2 years, because he was so much more than just a football coach. He was a man who really had a code of ethics, a set of principles, which I guess were founded at his time at St. Francis Prep in Brooklyn, and then, of course, he went to Fordham University. Evidently, he debated whether or not to become a football coach or become a priest, so it goes to show you he was a very high-minded guy, really liked the idea of discipline and having a code of ethics which would really carry you through life, and that's something which he tried to pass on to his players, not only the X's and O's, but why you were playing and why you should play as well as you can. I used to really enjoy that first half hour of practice where the team would be collectively together, the offensive lineman, the defensive lineman, everybody. And Coach Lombardi would give us his 20-minute sermon pretty much every morning. And for me, I just loved it. Some of the old vets, you know, they didn't care for it that much. But to me, I was just so excited to hear what this guy had to say. And I think I benefited from it big time.
Well, absolutely. Now, you had the chance to play in the second Super Bowl, and you came away with a win, and you proudly wear a championship ring from that game. Tell us a little bit about what it was like to play in Super Bowl number 2.
Well, Super Bowl II was a far cry from what's going on nowadays. I mean, they start the publicity machine and the promotions and so forth, you know, like a month in advance. I still remember our press day. I think it was the day before the game, and it probably took about 15 or 20 minutes. You know, it just was a very understated thing at the time. It has just snowballed into this mammoth thing now where people are talking about taking the following Monday off because nobody seems to be in shape to go to work, you know. But it really, of course, has become a big event in our culture, in our society. They're expecting, 120 million people to be watching the game, so it's become pretty big, and it was fun to be part of the initial stages of it, but it certainly was pretty different from what it is right now.
Absolutely, and you've done important work for your fellow NFL alumni on injury treatment and treating injuries that may happen to players after they retire, or the effects. What are some of the important things that you've been able to work on with your fellow NFL alumni?
Well, you know, there are a number of different programs which are in play right now. There is the NFL alumni, but there's also NFL legends. There are a couple of different associations which are really concerned with head injuries that the players have, and it's surprising, it's almost shocking how many guys do maybe not experience the symptoms right away after playing ball, but a number of years later they can really come on. And it's kind of a sad thing. Sometimes, you know, we get invited back to Green Bay or back to the Giants for alumni events, and I can see where some of my old buddies, my old teammates, really quite aren't where they were. You know, a number of our players have had difficulty with memory and a lot of other things. So what we try to do is first of all to make sure that they can get medically treated and to be screened ahead of time. And the NFL alumni, which I've been very involved with, the Connecticut chapter of it, we just want to ring the bell and make sure that guys, get pre-screened to make sure that they're okay, and to take any steps that they can to try to ward off any of this difficulty that can come on in their lives. There are also a few other agencies. It's hard to believe, but a lot of these fellows who you read about making millions and millions of dollars, some of them turn into some difficult situations as far as, not being able to take care of their money and so forth. We try to make sure that they get the proper counseling and that type of thing. There's a pretty broad spectrum of things that we try to do to take care of our former brothers.
Absolutely. And talking with Bob Hyland. Bob, you've had a very successful business career following your time in the NFL, and I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about what you've learned in the restaurant business, the many challenges there, and then also on what it's like in the world of financial services, which I know you're very active in.
Yeah, when I first realized I wasn't going to be playing NFL football anymore, I immediately went back to the restaurant business because I had actually opened up my original restaurant in 1973 when I was still an active player. I lasted up until about 1978, and so I had a job waiting for me, you might say, and I enjoyed the business. I love the idea of being able to employ young people. We've had an association with the various colleges in the community, and they've served us well as far as servers and hostesses and hosts and that type of thing. We've been able to employ a number of our guys here have been with me for 20 years, believe it or not, which is kind of unusual for the restaurant industry. But we really treat people with a lot of respect, and their worries, their concerns are our concerns as well. And I think they realize that. So we've had stability as far as the people who work for us. I think that's one of the most important things that you can learn in the business, is that you're only as good as the people who are working for you. As far as the financial services industry, that really became my first love. I really love to sit down with small business owners and young couples who have their first children and so forth, and try to help them put together a game plan as to making sure that all of the different things that can happen in life, they're going to be protected, whether it be the loss of life or an injury or just saving for retirement. I think that one of the most beneficial things I can do for other people is to give them a game plan, and I really enjoy that very much. I think it's important work.
Very good. And Bob Hyland wears a Super Bowl championship ring from the Green Bay Packers from Super Bowl number 2, playing for Vince Lombardi. Has a big day here at the sports page in White Plains. We're going to have a packed house here watching the game on these dozens of televisions that you have here, all the widescreens. What are your thoughts about the competition, strengths and weaknesses of the Patriots with Tom Brady and Belichick going against somewhat of a newcomer to this level of the Super Bowl level in the Atlanta Falcons?
Well, I think this is going to be a classic game. I really do. The two games leading up to this were a bit of a disappointment. Both the Falcons and the Patriots won convincingly. As far as the outcome of it goes, I have mixed emotions about it. Matt Ryan, of course, I think is just a great quarterback, and he's a wonderful example of what type of a guy can come out of Boston College. Not only a talented person, but a really high-class guy, too. So I'm certainly rooting for him. I hope he has a great day, and we have another guy from BC playing on that team as well. I also have some, I'm kind of a closet Patriots admirer too. I think Belichick is just a terrific manager and leader, and he's done a wonderful job with his team, not only coaching them but providing the personnel that he needs to be able to accomplish big things. The guy is really going to go down as one of the great football minds of all time, I think. A lot of people don't like Brady. I like him. I think he's a solid citizen, and the big thing about him is the Deflategate thing, and I just don't see anything there. I think a quarterback should be able to have the pressure on the ball wherever he wants it. It's like a golfer. He has, you don't say, well, listen, that guy can't use that wedge or whatever. It's just, such an incidental thing to the actual playing of the game. But he's been a classy quarterback. He's the hardest working guy you can imagine. So time. And they could very well win this game. I see it as a high-scoring game. Falcons possibly winning by 3 points, 30-35, something like that.
Very good. Well, we're so pleased to have a chance to talk with Bob Hyland today and start celebrating some of the memories of days at his restaurants here in White Plains. And I have to think of two special days, Bob, I will mention. A couple of years ago, we were here with a group from Providence College the night that Providence won the NCAA Division I hockey championship. And then also a very somber day back on 9/11. We actually, my wife and I, my wife who had been in New York City that day, we decided to go out and go to the sports page down the old location, and a lot of people did the same thing. And what a nice, it was to have a gathering of people in your restaurant on that really horrific day. But to get the community together, and that was something I thought about this morning.
Yeah, it's interesting, Ken. Here you're talking about two completely different things: a celebration and another one where, it's consolation for each other. And I think a pub serves the purpose of people being able to get together and really share their emotions, and we've been able to provide that, and we're happy about that. You mentioned the 9/11, the day of 9/11. I'll never forget that because Joe Reverso, who was one of our good friends and our bartender, he was bartending on 9/10. Just working hard, making a few extra bucks at the bar. He got up early the next morning, went down and was working at the World Trade Center, and he was killed in that terrible event. So that always hit us very hard. But you're right, there was some consolation, people talking it out and just saying what a terrible thing it was and what can we do to prevent it from happening again.
Well, Bob Hyland, you've provided a sense of community on so many occasions, on good days and a few unfortunate tragic days too. But that's all part of being hosting a community gathering spot. And we thank you and Liz and your family so much for all the great years. We hope there's some more. I hope you can find another spot to bring everybody into.
Ken, thank you very much. And Liz and I, we really appreciate the people who have stuck with us through the years. Greatest friends you can imagine, great customers, but we think of that as secondary to the friendship. So we would like to continue this as well. It's very difficult to imagine life without the sports page and being able to get together with our friends. We don't live much of a social life outside of the restaurant because our social life is in the restaurant, whether it be a Stepinac function or the YMCA or the other things that we get involved with here at the restaurant. So we like the idea of being able to help the community and at the same time enjoy the community. White Plains has been a great town for us and for me.
Very good. Bob Hyland here at the Sports Page Restaurant. Our best wishes to you and all your family. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon and seeing that big Super Bowl gathering here tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Ken. We're looking forward to it, too.
Pleasure. Ken Kraetzer for